Hi, and welcome to Heroes Rising. My name is Raphael, and I'm a galactic. I'm very far away, as you can see from my picture, but I am bringing you some amazing people. My co host, E.A. Solkowitz. I have Brannon Belisso and Sheryl Mathys. Amazing people who are going to be bringing you just amazing content. Everybody, just say a quick hello, and then we're going to get started.
Hello, and thank you for having me on as your host. Sorry I missed everyone's episode last Friday due to a energy shutout in the area, basically a substation blew. But they got it all back on in a day. So I'm happy to be here today. And I'm looking at your picture, Mario, and I'm wondering, did you actually make it to the space station like you said you wanted to, and that's how the picture is smaller, or?
That's
Okay. Is
right.
that what? Yeah,
I
it was
am
either that or the
floating.
Mars rover. I know it was one of those two things that you had.
All right, let's go for it and let's get started. I want to introduce you to Brannon. I can tell you from experience, Brannon Belisso, my God, he's someone who leads with his heart, and I'm going to tell you why. He is open with his knowledge. He goes way out of his way to help other people. During the pandemic, and this was just incredible what he did. He taught seminars to other martial arts school owners on how to do Zoom properly. Now, a lot of people were charging for these things. He didn't charge a dime, nothing. He did it because his passion is evident. He wanted to help people. So I can tell you, and I know this for a fact, that Brannon, because of his giving, helped save a lot of schools from closing down, because a lot of schools did close down during the pandemic. That's the kind of person that Brannon is. Brannon is a critical thinker, an influencer. His passion is presented everywhere. He is a TEDx talk speaker. He's presented to Facebook, Stanford Health and Care, Lululemon, Microsoft, Barclays. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Brannon is the CEO of It's Time Consulting Service Businesses. He owns two martial arts schools, over 900 students. He's in San Francisco. He is the creator of a Kids Love Skills, a character building system. He's authored children's books. He's authored his own autobiography. The man is just a powerhouse. Brannon, gosh, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you, my friend.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here. It's so funny because I give that speech to my daughter and she looks at me and just rolls her eyes. I read off my resume to my 10-year-old daughter and she just, rub my feet and watch Harry Potter with her. That's the thing my daughter's into right now. So I'm grateful and blessed to be here. For those of you who don't know me, I am Brannon Belisso. Um, Experience versus education is a big part of my life. And to go from poverty and foster homes and molestation and being beaten as a child to where I am today, I just wake up with a smile every day. And I choose to pay that forward. I'm a huge advocate of the law of attraction, the law of abundance, and I share that quite passionately. And today I'm grateful to share 3 life skills on happiness and success. I think, first of all, borrowing from Taoism, or Buddhism, as some people would call it, understanding the way. There is no happiness without suffering. And I look at them in equal measure. Some of my greatest suffering in life has led to some of my greatest learning and some of the greatest joys in my life. And I believe in a Western culture, we tend to put way too much weight on happiness. It is not a Hallmark greeting card. And that illusion that perpetuates with a lot of social media, things of that nature, I think skews our path to discovering what makes us happy. So the Dalai Lama said it really well. The person who is the richest is the one who could be happiest with the least. So take stock of that, as I encourage everybody in their own personal lives, is what truly makes you happy. And at 60 years old, for me, Waking up healthy is a good day. It's a very good day. Sunshine on my face, kissing my wife on the cheek like I have only once, and that was today. And I think that's a big part of happiness and success for me, is living in the now. We hear a lot about being present. The present is called the present because it's a gift. So just taking stock on, for you, what truly makes you happy versus what society and external stimulation tells you what should make you happy. Right? I look over there. Oh, that guy's got a Tesla. Maybe I need one too. Oh, they remodeled their house. Maybe I should remodel mine. Oh, and that can go on and on and on. And it's a fruitless effort. The true journey is inward. So one of the life skills for happiness that I'm very big on is gratitude. They say an attitude of gratitude. Finding a reason every day when you wake up to be grateful is powerful. So my morning rituals are always the same. And one of it includes a gratitude meditation. And when I journal, I will be mindful to cultivate gratitude in my life. And it's just an awareness thing. It's easy to walk around, my cup is half full, half empty type mindset. I say, let's elevate that game. I believe that I have this unlimited resource over here that I can draw upon all the time. Because scientifically, the cup is half full and it's half empty. So it's really a moot point to even use that as a springboard to discover what happiness is for you. When I did my TED Talk, it was called Happiness on Purpose. And one of the things I spoke of passionately was gratitude. So cultivate gratitude. Gratitude would be the number one path to happiness. Purpose, like Sifu said during the pandemic, I gave quite freely. And that's because I'm blessed to be in a position emotionally, spiritually, financially, and physically to be able to do that. And I think it's crucial. And having grown up in foster homes in poverty, I know what it's like to go without food for a couple of days. I just was telling my kids that this morning. If we didn't eat all the food on our plate, my father would make us stand in the hallway holding the plate of the food we didn't eat. And if you didn't eat it, then he'd stick it in the refrigerator and you got it for breakfast. And when I grew up, there were no microwaves. And because my kids eat breakfast and then they leave food on their plate. And I still have challenges with that. So I actually end up like a little dog. I eat the food off their leftovers, right? I eat my kids' leftovers. So purpose is the next life skill for happiness. If you truly want to be happy, discover why you are here. My purpose is simple. Live your best life. So whether it's an individual, small business, think tanks, teams, companies, my purpose is to come in and help them live their best life. So whether it's writing a process, a system, defining their core values, working with a CEO on their own personal development, my whole mantra is live your best life. So I know what my purpose is in this world. And that for me allows me to wake up every day with a sense of joy in my heart. And I wake up, that's all I want to do, live your best life. Mindset, managing our mindset is something I don't believe we invest in enough because it's very cerebral, right? Meditation should be a crucial part of your life, understanding why you think the way you do, and then relieving yourself of all these unauthorized thought patterns. Because I believe we're all born perfect, right? You look at a baby, I mean, that's to me, God's living proof that angels really exist. And then what happens? One day somebody said, good Brannon, bad Brannon. Okay, great. If I act this way, I'm accepted, I'm validated. Then I was bullied in school, or someone broke your heart, or you were silly enough to pick up Men's Fitness magazine or Vogue, right? And so then our true self is buried under all these unauthorized thought patterns. And then we spend the rest of our life in therapy and otherwise peeling away these layers of unauthorized thought patterns to get back to our true self. So the true journey is inward. So when I talk about mindset as a life skill, I would encourage anybody, invest in that heavily. And that truly is, the journey is inward, but it's lonely at times because you have to be willing to pull back your own covers, look at what's going on there and be brutally honest, loving. But the yin to the yang is, as much as I'm loving, I have to be honest with myself. And then that's what we don't want to do. So we look at the world through rose-colored glasses. We won't post a picture of social media without running it through a filter and some song and dance. And really, the truer self is what we're here to discover. Success. What is success? I mean, again, you need to define that for yourself. What is your version of success? And if you think it's somebody else's, again, that's very ill-fated, because my life is not your life. It will never be. Somebody said that to me the other day, one of my clients. I want to be like Beyonce and J-Lo. I said, that's impossible, because you could never be Beyonce or J-Lo. You could be your own version, but it's fruitless. Just discover for you, what is your definition of success? I think a big one for that in my life is communication. I need to be a great communicator. And the yin to the yang of that means I need to be a better listener. So I believe in the success. And I think I have 40 employees. I'm not sure the exact number. But in that, I need to be a good listener. Because if my team is as successful as my clients, then I don't work a day in my life. And I'm very grateful for that. So communication and discovering the art of communication today, it's via Slack, text, email, social media posts. So there's so many different forms of communication. What I believe is effective communication is our ability to connect with any individual, team, or company on a very emotional level. Superficial surface stuff, saying the right words, quoting Franklin Covey, anybody can do that. That's not rocket science. You're a parrot regurgitating information. So as far as great success for me is becoming a great communicator. And I work on that every day. As I shared, my 10-year-old daughter, I'm still trying to discover how to be a great communicator with her. Another one, leadership by example. Success for me is leadership by example. And in our industry, the martial arts industry, we need to walk our talk. I'm deeply challenged when somebody is talking to me about fitness and they're very unhealthy. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, right? So I believe leadership by example is super important, and not, again, running yourself through a filter, thinning out your face, doing all these things, adjust the lighting. All of that is superficial, because eventually it all comes out in the wash. So transparent leadership is huge to success. And why do I share that? Because I recognize I don't do this thing called life alone. I would not be in the position I'm in every avenue of my life if I truly believe I did it alone. So be mindful of that. The humility that comes with success, true humility, is in line with happiness and gratitude as well. And then this is a big one. You know, I'm 60 years old, so I grew up without cell phones. I grew up without computers. There were no personal computers. So I think what lacks tremendously in discovering success for people is common sense, critical thinking, however you want to label that in whatever's the cool term. Right now, the big one is IRL, and that means in real life. I think that's pretty sad. If I have to describe an interaction with another human being, hey, let's go do some IRL, that for me is really challenging. So common sense, critical thinking, however you want to label that, the ability to figure it out on your own, the ability to go through trial and error and mistakes, that's where the true grit or gumption, an old term, is truly built. And the story, that I love to share passionately with people, my father needed to change the brakes on the car, and I must have been 10. So that was 1972. And we didn't have the money to take it to an auto mechanic. And I couldn't go, hey, Alexa, Google it. I couldn't pull up a YouTube video. None of that existed. None of it. I mean, if you wanted information, you had to go down to the library, pull this drawer out with Rolodex cards like this, pull out this card with some weird number on it, walk down aisles, find this book, open up to the page about changing brakes. So he took a big piece of cardboard. My father, with a 6th grade education, immigrant from the Philippines, grabbed a Sharpie and a big roll of tape. I'm going, oh, what's this guy doing? We've never changed brakes. And then we get out there, he jacks up the car, pulls off the 2 front tires, puts down his piece of cardboard on one side, and starts disassembling this brake. And as he does so, he's taping down each piece of the brake onto this thing and numbering it. And when it was done, honestly, today, I would call that an IKEA instruction. It was brilliant. It was just brilliant in its simplicity. But what it was common sense, because the money was short. So there was no option. He had to fix these brakes. They had to be fixed. Done day. And then he proceeded to assemble it, copying the other side that was already assembled, right? Because both front tires were off. And I think that's the art. That's the art of success, is failing and embracing your failures, not as mistakes, but as that process to success. And I will never get through that process if I conveniently go, hey, Alexa, hey, Google. So I would encourage everybody, if you want to be successful, to invest heavily into common sense and critical thinking. And that means put away the phone, turn off the computer, and sit there and figure it out. The sense of empowerment that comes with that, the satisfaction, that's a given. And just the whole process of failure, try something else. Failure, try something else. Failure. We talk about it in memes and big posters, and it's like really freaking cool, right? I fail 1,000 times. No, you don't. All you do is ask Alexa again. You ask YouTube again. You ask Siri again. You do not fail because it's not your responsibility, is it? Because you rely upon that YouTube video. If that video don't work, you look up another one. If Alexa doesn't give you one answer, you ask her a different one. That is not critical thinking. That is not the path to success. Cool. And that's it. Any questions? None? Zero?
I do. So, one of and I love what you brought up, Brannon, because when we think about, and what you said was, what is IRL, right? Are you guys there?
Yes. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. For some reason, everybody's screen went blank. So a lot of people are trying now to pull us away from our real life. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to bring us into that VR world, right? That virtual reality, the Oculus, and they're doing fitness through it. They're starting to do martial arts through it. They're starting to take people out of going outside, and they're bringing the outside inside. And I think that, yes, that is going to be the new norm. And like you said, it is stopping us from truly living the life we were meant to live. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what people are talking about when they talk about let's live in the real world, because we actually have to be careful of all of that's happening. I mean, when phones came out and people started texting, you see people crashing into walls, falling into holes, falling into waters. Now what's happening is people are putting on these Oculus or these virtual reality things in their eyes, and they're not living in the real world anymore. And what's happening is you see people hitting each other by accident, crashing into the walls because they decide to start running and don't know how to run in place. So there's a lot of, I guess, misconception as to what the reality of living truly is.
Well, but I think the thing is defining what is reality. My perception of reality is much different than anybody else's here. So if you never lived without a computer, you never lived without a cell phone, VR is your reality, right? People stand on beaches in virtual worlds in Hawaii and they think they're on the beach. I would never do anything less than get on a plane and go stand on that beach in Hawaii because it's beautiful and it's healing. So, but if you don't know what you don't know, I think that's the challenge. I believe part of critical thinking and the movements that I cultivate are to give them what they need to know and let them, as we say, if I kissed my wife virtually, that's nothing like kissing her in real life, nothing. And the more we cultivate that, the more successful. And that's what I think we're witnessing from the data after 2 years of this pandemic. People are being called back to work because the productivity level, as now we have 2 years of data, is showing that the productivity at home is not the same. It's convenient and it worked for the pandemic. That's why our martial arts schools are filled again, because people are done with that. It'll always be there, sir. And make no mistake, Facebook changed the name to Meta, bought Oculus 3 years ago, because there will be an audience for that. There will be an avatar of me in some dance club, and I'll buy the NFT on the wall, and rent space in that virtual world so I can advertise my school. I get it. I'm in the tech, I'm in Silicon Valley, so I understand the value of tech, but tech is not the foundation of anybody's life. It is simply an augmentation. And if you can differentiate between that, everything will be fine, because technology is not a bad thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody who wants to reach out to Brannon, my co-host, who is an amazing person, has put his links in there. So you guys can go ahead and reach out. He does have a coaching system. He does help people. And it's not just martial arts schools that he helps out. He helps out anyone who is in business. Let me tell you about my co-host, right? EA, just an amazing person. He is not your cut-of-the-mill coach or mentor. He has had room of 50 presidents of companies pay him $5,000 each every month to learn from him. That's $250,000 for 3 days. That's it, 3 days. Yes, 3 days. Could you work for just 3 days and make $250,000? Well, EA did it for 2 years. I broke it down. That's $6 million. Here's the crazy part. He only worked 72 days. That's it. 72 days. Can you work 72 days and make $6 million? I'm sure he's on his way to making $600 million. If you want to learn how to earn $1 million or more in a year, who to better help you? EA. EA has done it. He also is the first person who has developed a profit scoring system for companies based on what his mentor taught him, his mentor, Sam, and what he learned from interviewing over 1,000 millionaires. So we're going to put his links in there as well. Go ahead and book a mentoring session with EA. The link is going to be in the chat. When you see it, book it. Don't let it go by, because guess what? EA told me already, he's not going to do this for much longer. So go ahead, click on his link, book it right away, and don't let that chance pass you by. EA, my gosh, I am so honored to have you on the panel as well. Thank you. And as a co-host.
My pleasure. And thank you for having me on. And Brannon, thank you for the excellent points that you made. And, an interesting statistic that my mentor shared with me, he said, there's a certain thing you're going to do 1,250,000 times a year. And he said, and every single person does it. And I said, what's that? He said, well, you're going to have conversations with yourself in your own head. And he said, you're going to have those at the rate of 35 a minute. And he said, and these are secret, quiet little conversations you have that no one else hears, but you do in your own head. And he said, you're going to do that 1,250,000 times a year. So no one can tell me that the conversations we have with ourselves don't count, because they do. And they help us reframe and take a look at those things that are there. And one of the things I've noticed with Raphael is his ability to wordsmith, as my mentor shared with me, that you win or lose with the words that you choose. And some of those words are the thoughts that we think, because those are words, and we think in picture. But then also we win or lose with the words that we communicate with others, to properly communicate. And I'm actually a part of a junto with Raphael and with Rick Hughes, and we meet on a weekly basis, and we cover some exciting and amazing things and information. And what I want to share with everyone is something that's so important. There's in my lifetime. By the way, I'm the oldster of the group, being 65. So I got you, Brannon. I've got you covered. So I was there when there was only 3 channels on TV, and there was always plenty to view. And now there's 500, and you can't find anything, right? I mean, what the heck? How'd that happen, right? But so I can share with everyone that years ago, and this is way years ago, the word DIET, right? That's the word diet, right? Do you know years ago, if you went to a meeting, that meeting was called a diet? That was the meeting called. I went to a diet, and there were some people there, right? Then later on, if you got a stipend or an allowance on a regular basis, that was called a diet. You're getting a regular diet. Now, as I was growing up in my lifetime, your diet meant your eating habits, the way that you ate every day. Now, if you say the word diet, It means weight loss. All the same word, spelled the same way, for totally different meanings. And I submit to our listeners that we have seen the same thing happen with another word, especially in the last 2 years, and that's the word community. See if this rings true for any of our listeners. Have you had that instance where they say, come join our community, be a part of our group, we're all of the same mind. And then you join, and 6 hours later, they're trying to sell you everything under the sun, right? That's not a community. That's a customer list. That's what that is. It's a customer hit list, a prospect list, and they're doing what I call bait and switch, right? They told you it's a community. It's not. It was just a way to be able to try to sell you something. So, and we've seen this community, and I identify those as taker communities. And one of the things we do with Givers University is we teach people how to discern. It's a skill that's not really being taught today, how to discern in your relationships. So that discernment skill, it is a skill, genuinely a skill that can learn, people can learn. I knew there was a word missing there somewhere. And and yet it's not being taught, and what we teach people, simply put, I say to all listeners, we love everybody. I say it again, we love everybody. But we teach people how to separate the person who we love from their deeds, which we may not love. And through an observation skill, we teach them, look at the things they're doing. Don't listen to what they're saying, because people can learn things and memorize things and tickle your ears. But watch what they're doing, because your talk talks and your walk talks, but your walk talks louder than your talk talks. The things we do, the things we actually visually do are the things that say who we really are. So we teach people a skill of how to observe. When I see people doing these certain things, should I pull them in closer into my giver community? Or if I see them doing other things, should I begin to respectfully, not rude or nasty, but respectfully distance myself? Because if I bring them closer, they're going to make me collateral damage. And I ask your listeners, how many times do you stomp out fires during the day? How many times does your stress level go up during the day? Those things have one thing in common. There's a name attached to them. And no one's teaching us how to discern who we should bring in our life and who we shouldn't. All of our panelists, our two speakers, certainly Raphael, myself, we're self-improvement geeks. We love self-improvement. We're into it. We like it. But no one's teaching us, how about the other guy? What if he's doing it wrong? What should I do about that? And so we welcome those people in our life, and they make us collateral damage. And next thing you know, our productivity goes down because we're stomping out fires not of our making. Does that ring true to anyone? So what would be the value if we could begin to discern? So at Givers University, when we say giver, we're not labeling a person, because we don't label people. We're labeling giver deeds. When we say taker, we're not labeling a person. We're labeling taker deeds, the things that they're doing, right? And so and we teach people how to form something so critical, and that is what we call a giver community. So I'm going to hit a number of slides real quick, sort of bear with me as I bring this up for us. And it will be up in a moment as it's loading up a quick little PowerPoint for us on the quick steps of forming a community. All right, we have 7 steps that we use at Givers University, and those 7 steps spell the word discern, D-I-S-C-E-R-N. Right. By the way, I'm going to give all of our listeners this in sort of a bullet, quick download kind of information. Listen to this multiple times, but you can get a much more detailed version on each of the things I'm going to show you at the Givers University YouTube channel. You just put in Givers University, it's all one word, Givers University, no spaces, and it'll pull it up and go to the playlist that says how to build your own giver community. You know, with businesses opening and closing faster than ever before in history, with products being antiquated overnight faster than ever before in history, what do we have left? Our relationships, the people around us, and they will influence and impact us in profound unspoken ways. So we teach people, how do you select those people that you want to have closer in? And those other people, you don't have to just be rude or nasty or insensitive, just don't necessarily be as available to them. Be respectfully distant, because they're going to run havoc on you when you pull them in close, right? So the first slide here is community. How do you build a giver community? When you go to our YouTube channel at Givers University, you'll see a sequence of 2-minute clips. This is the first clip that you'll see. And it's 2 minutes. How do you determine, and what's the difference between a giver community and a taker community? What are the differences between those two? The first letter in the word discern is D, which stands for decide. Right? If you're going to form a community around you, the first thing you have to do is decide who you're going to have in it, right? That's the first thing you do. And we teach people to decide. How do you decide? We even have a checklist that's called the 25 Do's. It's an excellent, excellent checklist. It's free. You get it when you subscribe to the newsletter for Givers University. And we want people, print it off, use it every day in discerning your relationships, because what we teach works in family, home, business, socially, etc. The first thing you want to do is decide. And this one gentleman, I was doing a podcast interview a few ago, and the guy said, "Wow, this is really great stuff. I just read this book, and it said I need to have 5 good people around me." I said, "You're right, you do. One question: which 5?" And he stared at me with this blank look. I said, "You see my point? No one's teaching which 5. They're all saying what to do, but they're not saying specifically how to do it." So the first letter is decide who you want to have in your giver community. The second is you need to invite them. This is how you invite them. And a giver community, as we call a junto. A junto, by definition, is a group of people who have gotten together for a common purpose or interest. That's a junto, right? So we use the word community and junto as interchangeable references. So a giver's junto, basically, the second step is you invite them, right? How do you invite them? What do you say? What do you do? The next is you need to seed them. That means, there's an excellent book I'll call Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And Napoleon does an excellent job at explaining what the mastermind principle is, right? And when he explained that, of course, and brought it out, it was quite novel. However, he never says how to do it. He just says what it is. We teach how to do it. And we realize that I've been a part of, maybe many of your listeners are, you get it like, let's call it a mastermind group. And, everyone gets together, but then within a couple of weeks or a couple of months, it just sort of starts to dissipate. It just sort of starts to fall apart. And you wonder, why did it fall apart? What happened? They all got together, but they didn't. And a lot of that has to do with what are called expectational agreements. That's the seeding part in discern. The S stands for seed. Get expectational agreements. This is what we expect up front for everyone that we allow to come in this group, which an insider junto would typically with maybe 2 to 12 people. Close-knit advisors, a more confidential and sharing each other and helping each other become successful. So the S in discern stands for seed. The seed can be on a regular basis, weekly, monthly. Ben Franklin had a junto. He originally called it the Mutual Admiration Club, then later on called it the junto, and then later on called it the Leather Apron Club. This was in 1727. And he had 12 friends, got together every Friday night for 2 hours, and they talked about ethics, morals, business, politics. And what's interesting about that junto is that our very Declaration of Independence in the United States could arguably be traced back to the conversations that happened at his junto. So no one can tell me 12 people coming together in a spirit of harmony are not powerful, because they are, right? So C is convene. Convene on a regular basis, weekly, monthly, whatever it is. Set a regular schedule. The next is give it a name, right? I said, Ben Franklin calls it the Leather Apron Club. Henry Ford, who had a junto, consisted of him and Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, Firestone Tires, and John Burroughs, who was a writer, a poet, and he was also the federal bank examiner, so he must have been the money guy. But anyway, he called his junto of 4 people the 4 vagabonds. Right? So give your junto a name. Establish it. That's what E stands for. When you give it a name, the camaraderie begins to kick in. Everyone's a part of that group. So give it a name. E stands for establish the group. Number 7. Rotate the chairperson. The same person. We've all been in meetings where what we call them the microphone hog, right? They even have to be on stage from their seat, right? I mean, no matter what, they're always got to be there, right? And so it's very important with your junto. Rotate the chairperson. Every meeting, different person is in charge. Every meeting, a different person. So rotate. If there's 12 people in your group, every time a different person, right? Number 8, and that is the letter N. You want to branch out, form other juntos, branch out. The N stands for numbers. These are opportunities to give to others, not to pull from them, but to give to them. And then, of course, The last thing I want to mention is you can find all this at giveruniversity.com. That's our website. Join our free newsletter there. And every single week we send out, we're not spammers. I hate that, you join a newsletter and next thing is blowing up your inbox, right? And we send out one email every Thursday morning, a couple-minute read, maybe 5 minutes at the most. And every week we give a new relationship toolbox, a new relationship tool that you can add in your relationship toolbox. The letters for discern, as I mentioned, form your community. Go to Givers University on our YouTube channel. Look at the playlist that says how to form your own giver community. And there's 2-minute clips, step by step by step. I think this week we posted number 19. We're actually now talking about the agenda. Once you have your group together, what do you talk about? And what are the things, what's better, a formal or informal agenda? And what are the advantages and disadvantages? We even provide, these are the questions you should ask. And here's how you increase your engagement of your Junto. And a Junto would basically be a mastermind group on steroids. How do you do it, right? So now with we have 2 more episodes on the agenda. How do you do your agenda and what you do at that point? So go to Givers University, sign up for our newsletter. It's absolutely free. We want you to get the 25 do's. That's critical in discerning your relationships. Who do you want to have around you? Who shouldn't you? And for those certainly that want to form a community, this is a great opportunity in order to be able to do that. So thank you for allowing me to be able to share that. And it's always a good thing to share with everyone, the opportunities that we have. But remember, you win or lose with the words you choose. And when we communicate, there's a lot of different ways to communicate. And I will say that, we're very blessed to have a number of great communicators with us. And the person I'd like to introduce is Sheryl Mathys. And chances are, okay. That was someone different. Isn't that Johnny Mathis? Isn't Johnny Mathis, doesn't he sing that? Yeah, I thought so. I think so, right? So Sheryl Mathys, and that's how you can remember, because Johnny Mathis. See, with Solkovich, you can't do that, Until I was 12, I thought my name was Go Chop Wood. So, there's nothing you can do with Solkovich, right? But so Sheryl Mathys is, to give you an example of the kind of person she is, they did a study and they put a pessimistic child in a room filled with all the toys, anything a child would want. And then they took an optimistic child and put them in a room filled with dog manure and watched what they did. What was interesting is that the pessimistic child was crying and throwing tantrums, had all these great toys, everything they ever wanted in the room, and was unhappy and dissatisfied. Nothing worked, and they hated it. And they went to the other room and looked for the little boy that was in the room full of dog manure, and he was running around and screaming and smiling, laughing, and he was throwing the manure all over here. And they couldn't figure out, what in the world, this kid must have lost it. We shouldn't have put him in this room with this manure. What is he doing? How in the world what happened? Why is he seems to be happy, and he's throwing the manure all over the place, screaming, yelling, he's having a good time. What in the world's going on with this kid? So they pulled both kids out, and they got some feedback from the kid that was in the room with all of the toys and why he was so unhappy. And then they were very intrigued with the one little boy, and they said, you were in your room and you were throwing manure all over the place and you seemed happy. Why were you doing it? He said, I was throwing it all over because I figured with all this manure, there has to be a pony in here somewhere, and I always wanted a pony. So, and when you have the right kind of forethought, and when you learn how not only not to fling it, but how not to step in it, that's exactly what Sheryl Mathys is going to share with us. How not to step in it and how to make a dog shift keys to success like an animal. With great pride, it certainly allows me to be able to bring in Sheryl Mathys to share with our group and our listeners. Sheryl, thank you for being on Heroes Rising.
Yeah, thanks for that introduction, EA. Gosh, I'm a dog sitter too, so I should bring that kid along. It sounds like he'd be happy to pick up for me. I'll walk the dog.
Yeah, right.
Since he doesn't seem bothered by that, yeah. But obviously, yes, I created Fetchadate, and so I'm an avid dog lover, and I just feel like we can learn so much from what we observe too from the animals and the animal kingdom. And at the top of that chain is to be the alpha in our life. So I really want to focus on that today, what we can learn about the animals so that you can take charge of your life. And, we're animalistic. We learn a lot about success and drive from the animal kingdom. And we can tune into our animalistic side to create and acknowledge the success in our life. And as I was talking about, I'm a dog trainer, I'm a dog sitter, and that is what led me to creating the app called Fetchadate, where pet lovers meet. And I love to study animal behavior. And so I have 3 keys, especially today, that I want to focus on of how you can be that alpha in your life. And the first one is, animals know and sense who the alpha is in the animal kingdom. They don't have to join in a group or so. And I love your idea, EA, about, switching around in the group of who will lead. But in the wild, they just know, right? So how do they know? And how can we tap into some of that so that we can also be a better leader? First analogy I usually think of is a lot of times we'll say, oh, that person, they're a tiger, right? There's someone who's extremely ambitious and fierce, independent. They just seem like a natural born leader. And this is the year of the tiger, by the way, 2022. It's a great year to get married. If you're already engaged or so, or have that special someone, but also if you're single, it's a great chance that this year you will find the one in the year of the tiger. And those who are born in the year of the tiger are especially fortunate this year too. And those years in the more recent past are 1962. So Brannon, I think that was you. This is going to be like your year. 74, 86, 98, and then 2010. And then jumps all the way to this year. Now, another fierce animal that we think of being an alpha in the wild is, of course, the lion, the king of the jungle, top of the food chain, recognized for their strength, their courage. And to be an alpha is to command like a lion. Now, lionesses do the majority of the hunting for their pride. They hunt 90% of the time, while the males protect the pride. A lioness doesn't say one day, like, you know what, I'm just going to watch TV instead. I don't really feel like getting up today or going out and hunting and gathering. I think, so what if we just go hungry for a day? No, they know that they need to eat and provide for the rest of the pride, while the male lions protect and keeping a watchful eye, an observing eye. So again, animals in the wild, they know who the alpha is and who's the weak link. They can smell it, they can sniff it out. And one way that they sniff that out is, we've all seen what dogs do when they first meet, right? What do? They sniff. What they're doing at that time is they're sniffing the bottoms of the other animal, and their bottoms release pheromones that convey really important information. And they will know that information in seconds. They know the other dog's age, their gender, their health, their mood, their diet, even if they've met before. And when we meet an alpha, we can sense that too. So we need to go ahead and take in that information. They usually tend to be charismatic, right? And an alpha is a person that we tend to see as of great importance. They are someone who has influence, and we even admire them like a celebrity. So what I love too is that an alpha is gender inclusive. Both genders are capable of achieving this higher rank. So a key to success is to think, act, and be an alpha. And I imagine you're on this call because you desire to stand out, right? You're seeking success, more success. And alphas are leaders, and people follow leaders. But the healthy way to be an alpha is that it's not about being better than others, developing an ego complex. It's about being the alpha in your life, knowing that you have value, and it's of the utmost importance that you take care of you because others are looking up to you. All right. The number 2 one of success like an animal is self-care. And that's taking care of yourself like you're the lion or the lioness of your pride. So let's take a sports analogy, for instance, on this one. LeBron James is a lion of sports and is an alpha regarding self-care. Now, he knows his body is the most valuable asset. And according to Business Insider, he spends $1.5 million a year to maintain it. Yeah, it's covering things like his home gym, trainers, massages, a therapist, and a nutritionist. So we're talking mind and body. And here's the key to success in this one. Alphas know their worth and the value that they offer. They prioritize self-care and recovery, and to perform at your best and be the person you need to live the life you desire. You got to take care of yourself. You must value and understand that you can only do great work and live an exceptional lifestyle when you also have a regimen for taking care of yourself. So for instance, do you get out of breath just walking upstairs? Do you have brain fog from an unhealthy diet? Do you lack exercise? Well, if you're doing some of those things, then you need to make some changes in order to create the energy to have the life that you want. So a key to being an alpha is energy. And I have a quick story on this. I feel like I've had an awakening just in the last couple of months. I've been working really hard at building my app, Fetchadate, for single dog lovers and cat people. And so it means long hours at the computer, a lot of sedentary work. And I admit I've put off exercise. And some days I would even go as far as I would get dressed in my sweatpants. And then because I thought, okay, if I get dressed for it, then I'll get around to it at some point today. And then that just wasn't happening either. And I wasn't eating much, but I wasn't eating fruits and vegetables, and I've been eating more convenient foods. Like, I'll just grab that granola bar out of the package or Monster drinks for energy. Well, just in the last couple of months, my mom collapsed and she was found laying on the floor for more than a day. We had a life alert for her to wear, but she wasn't wearing it at the time. And she's diabetic, had a UTI, and had sepsis and a stroke. Now it's a miracle alone that she's alive and she can walk and talk. I've been taking care of her now for about 2 months. And this also kind of threw me into overdrive of, how can I help her? So I've been feeding her foods like avocado and bananas and blueberries and making smoothies and having her take apple cider vinegar before she eats, because that lowers your blood sugar levels and lowers cholesterol and helps in weight loss, and doing more walking with her. But through helping her, I've realized all those things I've been doing, especially during the pandemic, I've been neglecting. I haven't been walking the talk. And Brannon, I think you were talking about that even earlier, really about walking the talk. So I've made adjustments to just eating better for myself and making sure that I run each morning. So as an alpha, what we do is we pick a daily thing of self-care. And you can always add more and be consistent, and it's not selfish to love yourself so that you can think more clearly and have your health. But my daily act now of self-care is walking and jogging at least 4 miles. So I challenge you to that, what's going to be your one act of self-care? All right. So then number 3 is finding success like an animal to conquer your fears and embrace discomfort. So animals do have fear. And we all experience fear. We may call it stress, but it's fear. And the alpha utilizes it as a strength of making the first leap, which is usually fighting over flight. Okay. They stand up for their convictions. And that's not necessarily done in comfort, right? It can feel uncomfortable sticking to your convictions with certainty. But whoever has the most certainty wins. All right. That's worth repeating. Whoever is most certain wins, and an alpha is certain. So the signs of an alpha are they do what others won't. They do what's scary. They try new things. They step into what's uncomfortable. They're all in and start businesses with a purpose, or maybe it's their freedom and they love to travel, or they want to become an expert in their field. An alpha lives each day to its fullest and decides to take action despite their fears. So again, it's not that they lack fear, they just do it anyway. A National Geographic article called Yes, Animals Think and Feel talks about how life is vivid to animals. They know who's friendly, they know who their rivals are, and their competitors. Their lives have purpose, and their purpose is stay alive, get food, find shelter, and raise the next generation. So how do we conquer fears? Well, an alpha leans into their fears and embraces discomfort. And growing is a lifelong pursuit of theirs too. So it's, of course, easier to play it safe, take the easy route, put your time in at a job, maybe that you hate, just sedate your feelings with alcohol or whatever else, mindless entertainment that you may just watch TV for hours, settle for the status quo, right? And then when I always think of status quo, I don't know if you guys love musicals or not, but I always think of the musical, High School Musical, and they even have a song, stick to the status quo. And when somebody tries to go outside of that a little bit, for instance, there was the kid on the basketball team, and but then he says he wants to bake, and they shout, no, 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 stick to what you know. And then there was a girl in a Brainiac club, and she says, well, I actually really love hip hop. And again, they tell her, like, it's better to keep things as they are. But since you're here, I'm sensing that, you're not satisfied with the status quo. You desire more, and that's being an alpha in your life and in business. And to get to that, realize, the worst case scenario is not likely to happen. Whatever you're afraid of, you most likely can recover. And if anything, become stronger for it. And Brannon, you talked so greatly about that earlier. So I challenge you also in this step to jot down, what scares you? So ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen? What is the best that could happen if you go ahead and step out of your status quo? And could the benefits of facing this fear outweigh the negatives? And then if the worst does happen, okay, how quickly can you recover? So I think you'll see after doing this that the worst outcomes really won't seem so bad if they happen at all. And the alpha animal knows that life begins right outside of their comfort zone. So face your fears and don't stick to the status quo, right? And know that you can get in the best shape, because one of the, it's about working out and getting healthy for a day, right? It's not going to happen necessarily in a day. That it takes time. You're not going to be a millionaire necessarily because of one day that you went really well at work, I guess, unless you do Bitcoin. but chances are, it's a process and it takes time. All right. You can build an abundant dating life by making it a habit to meet, have fun, and connect with high quality dates, and learning what works and what doesn't, and adjusting your strategy, and take part in programs and courses like all of us here offer, and that's happening today, or even through my Fetchadate dating program called Pawsitive Dating Systems, to help hold your hand through that. So I'll just sum up and say those 3 keys that I talked today about is, number 1, go ahead and be an alpha in your life. Your value is worth it. You are worth it. Number 2 is taking care of yourself. And number 3 was conquer your fears and embrace discomfort.
Awesome. What great information. And I want to share with you, by the way, interestingly enough, the smartest dog I ever had was a female named Alpha.
Ah.
And what was funny was we had a male dog, and his name was Omega. I have to say, we loved him, but he was as dumb as a brick. I mean, he walked by one time and I heard 2 bricks talking, and they said, that dog's really dumb. I mean, it was just, but I got to tell you, Alpha was smart as a whip. In fact, she'd even be embarrassed. And, and along with what you're saying, and I think, boy, what great information. So many great nuggets there. And, also the importance of being able to test. It's like this one guy had a duck that he loved, and he thought his duck was dead, so he brought it into the vet, and he told the vet, he said, I think my duck is dead. Can you help me do a test? And the vet looks at it and says, yeah, your duck's dead. He goes, that was it? That's all? He goes, well, if you want, I'll do some extra testing. He said, well, yeah, please, I want to make sure. So the veterinarian leaves and comes back in with a cat, and pulls the cat up, and the cat jumps up on the table and walks around and sniffs the duck on all sides and goes back down. The cat then jumps off the table, and the vet pulls the cat out of the room. Then the vet comes back in with the dog and puts the dog over by the table, and the dog went up and put his paw on the duck, and then took his paw off the duck, and the vet took the dog and walked him out of the room. Came back in and says, yeah, your duck's definitely dead. That'll be $120. He said, what? $120? I said, yeah, but if you would believe me in the beginning, it would only been $20, but you're the one that wanted the CAT scan and the lab results. So, so there's the CAT scan. Oh, see, those little animal things I wanted to throw in there, with your story.
Yeah.
There. But what great information! Certainly, the animal kingdom has us. It's proof that there is a God, and you can see with those animals, and they have great, the experiences and the emotions that they experience are nothing less than extraordinary. That is absolutely for sure. So thank you for sharing all that with us, Sheryl. And that gives me the opportunity to bring up the amazing Rafael Gomez. Now, Rafael actually reached out to me. I was fortunate enough to be on his podcast, and as a Rafael, it's hard not to hit it off with him, right? So we hit it off, and Rafael reached out to me later, says, I'm going to do this thing. Would you like to be a co-host? And I said, absolutely. It'd be great. It'd be my honor. So we hit it off, and he is amazing. And what Rafael is going to talk about is something that's so important. It's called leadership mindset and focus. Now, first of all, if you see him every single morning, I don't know what day he's on now, but I think it's like 76, 77. It's in there somewhere. I think it's in the 70s. That every day he works out and posts every single day his workout. And what's great is they're only a few minutes, but he shows consistency. But do any of you remember, and again, I might be dating myself here, but there was a product called Cracker Jacks. And inside Cracker Jacks was a toy surprise. And for some reason, I loved getting the magnifying glass. It was a little tiny magnifying glass inside this paper thing. And you could open up the magnifying glass. And what was interesting is you could do all kinds of things. I remember as a little kid, you could do all these things with this magnifying glass. And wherever you put that magnifying glass, you could make things bigger and smaller by focusing the attention. You could take that magnifying glass, and if you caught the sun just right, we used to like to do this to see if we could, there'd be maybe a dead leaf on the ground somewhere, and we could start a fire with the dead leaf by just taking the magnifying glass and moving it around to the side and caught the sun just right, maybe up and farther away and closer to the leaf, just little by little, and then sure enough, you could start a little bit of smoke, and you could, in that little tiny leaf, you could literally start a fire using the sun and the magnifying glass. And I can share with you, isn't that true with us today? If we have the focus, the laser beam focus that a Rafael Gomez has, you can start the fire of inspiration. You can start the fire of inspirational dissatisfaction. You can start the fire that's going to get you where you want to go. The fire inside of you that's going to have you get up earlier than everyone else and look forward to every single day because, as Brannon said so perfectly, yes, it's called a present because it is a gift. So properly said, for sure. And Rafael is a classic example of that. So he's going to share with all of us leadership mindset and focus. So when Rafael talks, think about how he's going to teach you to move that magnifying glass around to get the exact right intensity you want to create the fire that you want. Rafael, take it away, my friend.
Wow, EA. Where do I send the check, by the way?
That would be to the following. Oh,
okay. I appreciate you so much, by the way. It's an honor, having you as my co-host.
Thank you.
When we think about leadership and mindset and focus, I want to touch about two things, the what and the when, right? In life, I've always known that what I want and I go for it. Here's a story. In high school, I tried out for the gymnastics team and I was told I was not the right fit. Wow. Most people would put their heads down, walk away. So I went to tryouts and the coach said, I was not qualified. I was too tall. I'm 6'1". Most gymnasts are not as tall as I am. And I asked, am I in the right place? Are there tryouts today? And he said, yes, but not for you. I said, whoa. I said, instead of feeling down and defeated, I proceeded to challenge him and ask him if there were tryouts for all students. And I was in 9th grade. And he said, yes. So then I told him I was there to try out and he needs to allow me. He dismissed me and said, what could you do? Right there on the spot, not on a nice, cushy gymnastics floor. I did it on the hard floor. I flipped all over the place. He turned around and said, "You're on the team." What he didn't know is that prior to me trying out, I used to do flips on the streets on concrete, not on cushy mats. I had to be always sure to land my flips, or else. You can only imagine. By the way, in that same year, on my freshman year, I tried out for the handball team. Who do you think the coach was? That's right, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly, I told him I wanted to play singles, and he said I was not good enough. The captain played singles, that I could try out for the doubles team. I told him that I would beat all his players, and he laughed at me. After beating all his players and his captain 3 times in a row, he said, "I made the team, but would it be okay if I played doubles, because the captain, it was his senior year and it was the only time he ever got to play singles, and could I, look the other way and play doubles for my freshman year?" I said, "Okay." Now, in that time that I played for the team, when I played singles, my 10th, 11th, and 12th year, I never lost one game. And here's what the coach didn't know about me, that I would spend hours upon hours on the paddle ball court, and I would play paddle ball without a paddle. I would use my hand. So what ended up happening is I became really fast, and I was able to serve differently than all the other handball players. And we played with those little tiny little balls. And even at a tournament, I beat a gentleman, and he complained that I was not wearing gloves like everybody else was. And even though I beat him really bad, and I said, "Okay, I'll play him again." So I asked somebody, "Can they lend me a pair of gloves?" And I beat him, same score. So the whole thing that got me going is that I don't know how to quit. Why do I tell you these 2 stories about me? I'm not here to show off, but I want everyone listening to know that if you're ready, that means you have put the effort, time, energy, and this is the what. That is the what you put into it. The when is when the time presents itself. And if the time doesn't appear, you create the opportunity. That's everything. Know your what, and then the when will happen when the time is right. I knew what I wanted, and when the time was right, I received that which I planned and envisioned. I don't do things for no reason. We all take action, and the actions have to have a purpose. And Brannon spoke about it. EA spoke about it. Sheryl spoke about it. We all have to decide alpha or no alpha. I'll tell you what, the decisions you make today, the actions you do today will set you up for your tomorrows. If you sit, and Sheryl talked about, if you sit and watch Netflix all day long, or TV, or hang out and do nothing, then your tomorrows are not going to look too sharp. But if you focus, and Brannon said it, and EA has said it, if you put your mind to work, you will conquer not only yourself first. You got to conquer yourself first, right? But you will conquer not only your fears, but your dreams. Let's go out there, everybody, and conquer our dreams. Follow me on the fitness journey. Follow me as a martial artist. I've been doing martial arts for 47 years. I know how to do martial arts, but martial arts is a small, very, very small part of the person that I am. I am the person I am today because of the actions I've taken in my past. And my future is based on the actions I take today. One more thing I want to talk to you guys about. We're putting together, EA and I are putting together this virtual 3 to 5 day event. It's going to be amazing. We're bringing amazing coaches, just like you saw here today. We're going to bring Brannon and Sheryl and everyone else we've had, and even coaches you don't even know about yet. And we're going to put this together, and we're going to bring you tons and tons of information. And down the line, we're going to do it in person. So join us. EA, I would love for you to tell everyone about our coaches who are going to be on April 8th.
Absolutely. Raphael, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to listen to you and your stories, of how you're a rising up story, literally, of rising up through your entire life. So God bless you. It's so awesome. April 8th is our next Heroes Rising event, and Jerry Fu is one of our speakers. He's going to be talking about a simple approach to resolving conflict. Now, conflicts, that's got to be a very interesting subject because, who hasn't had conflicts, right? Even if you don't want to. There's certain people you just meet, and sometimes it's just oil and water no matter how you try. And Jerry's going to give us some really great insights into how to resolve conflict in a very simple way. And Tyler Foley, I can only guess that Tyler has been doing a lot of remote kind of Zooms. The reason I say that is because he's going to cover with everyone the power to speak naked. So I'm guessing he must be doing Zoom calls. So I don't know if there's that in person. We'll have to see. But actually, he's an accomplished film and stage performer, and I think you're going to find Tyler to be very entertaining and informative with the great information he's going to. So that's going to be at 12 o'clock Eastern on April 8th. Watch on, follow on Raphael's YouTube channel, and you can set your reminder and catch the live event or the replay as a result. And Brannon, thank you so much for being on today, and Sheryl, thank you so much, and of course my awesome co-host. You are nothing less than amazing. You work so diligently, so disciplined. If people just watched you, they would know that you're an ideal mentor. Because in my life, I've met a lot of educated idiots. People know all the book information. They can spew it back at you, but can apply none of it. No execution, no implementation skills. And you are genuinely the opposite. You apply and are constantly disciplined with constant consistency to a point of amazement. So I just want to let you know, Raphael, how proud I am of you personally in our association. And I know that Rick Hughes, an associate of mine, that he feels the same way too. We're both really, really proud of you. You are awesome, my friend.
Appreciate it. Sheryl, Brannon, you guys were amazing. And, I am just super happy to have you guys in my life. So thank you. And EA, man, I can't even talk about you. I'd be here for days. So thank you, everybody. Any last comments, you guys? I appreciate it.
I think for myself personally, my biggest takeaway had to be Sheryl. I tapping into that primitive side of us. I think what resonates with me is if you feed your mind, body, and spirit equally. People ask me all the time, why are you a happy person or balanced? It's because emotionally, spiritually, physically, and mentally, I'm constantly serving my body. I get massages every week. I probably spend $400 to $500 in supplementation every month. I go to personal reposturing. I have so many things in place because I am an alpha male. And if you understand the animal kingdom, what happens eventually to that alpha male? Some young buck's going to come in and challenge you. And there's a systems of checks and balances. And I welcome collaboration. That's a given. And if I didn't have my team, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I'd be working. But what they lack, I make up for. And what I lack, they make up for. So when EA talked about that community and the switching of the roles, that's a constant in my business all the time. But the bottom line is I don't ask you questions. When you're in that position where you just resonate, you vibrate, you oscillate at that level, because I am a tiger, without a doubt. And a tiger and a lion walks into a room and you know who you are. So it doesn't matter where you stand in the room. It doesn't matter who you stand next to. You always have yourself. And I think that's the power there. But like EA says, and I agree with that wholeheartedly, I love changing seats because I love to sit here and ask the right question, not the question. And long story short, 1 + 1 = 2. If I say 2, you validate me. Teacher says I'm smart. I get a good grade in class. My parents say you're cool. No, 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 no. That's not. So we're conditioned as human beings to constantly give the right answer to whatever number of questions people want to ask us, just so we look cool or they look cool. And that's what he's saying about you, is that, you're not out there just to spew information. You're there to lead by example. So I'm passionate about being on the other side and asking the right questions. So everybody, thank you for the learning. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
I feel so much the same way. Yes. Thank you. Thank you all for the learning today. I just been trying to absorb as much as I can, and I can't wait to even watch the replay because you all said such great nuggets and I wanted to write them all down. And I thought, no, I'll watch the replay so I can just keep taking it in. And I know a number of you all mentioned that of just absorbing, right. And learning from each other and taking in and being present. And Brannon, your stories really touched me. Just, hearing about you having to finish the food, and I could really picture that standing in the hallway. And I think we all can relate to that in certain ways of what we were conditioned to think was the right thing, maybe when we were young, but we can do better and we can do different. We don't have to be a replica of our past or stuck in those ways. We can have the common sense. I think EA too, that you had mentioned about, having the sense and then looking to the community and making sure we surround ourselves with the right community and learning, but then also distributing that leadership role so that those who are quieter learn to come forward, and those who maybe always want to take the stage, as you mentioned, that they learn that it's not their time right now to fully always take the stage. And so, and Sifu, I appreciate you just bringing us together, and you always have such words of wisdom to share. And I think in one of our last interviews that we did together, you were the turning point. I don't know if you recall of, some issues I held on to for way too long with my mom. And I think you opened my eyes. I had given a quick little story about how she always kind of said to us, marry the right man, right? Or marry a doctor, or marry well. And I usually looked at that as all these years I held on to being offended. Like, why isn't she looking? What can't I do? Why not? And look to me that, that I can do something. I don't have to rely on somebody else. And I held on to that for years and years of that is such a negative. And Sifu, you were the one who said she was looking for your best interest. That was her gift. That was the way that she could give a gift to you. So I was able to release that. And I think it's really helped in these last 2 months of my being able to really give her the time and attention to hopefully, turn some things around, that it's not too late, right? Even though everything that just happened, which a lot of people die from, that it showed me how strong she is, and that's within me. It's within all of us. It really is. Are you a fighter? Are you a fighter? And if so, dig deep and find that, and being able to forgive. So I think, I feel like I have this treasure of time to just renew, how my relationship had been with her, and how can I help, and just, so we can have some really good days that are left here together.
That's awesome.
Sending some prayers to your mom, and God bless you as well.
And I appreciate that Sheryl made a good point there that I want to mention, that, when two dogs meet and the one walks behind the other and they sort of sniff behind. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize all that was going on. I just thought they were getting behind in their communication. What? Anyway, so
EA will be performing next week at this comedy show.
The comedy store.
That's right. Make sure you tip the waitresses. Thank you so much for being on, everyone. Our great guest speakers. And Raphael, you're awesome, my friend. What a giver you are. And everyone else, for those that watch, set your reminder. We look forward to seeing you on the next Heroes Rising on April 8th. In the meantime, God bless. And as we say at Givers University, don't have a good day. Have your best day ever.
Yes. Enjoy, everybody. All right. Awesome. I ended this live stream, everybody. So thank you so much, guys. What an amazing day. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Brannon, Sheryl, thank you. Awesome. Yeah.
So we will be in touch with you guys when we are looking to do the virtual. We'd love for you guys to be obviously part of it. So we'll reach out. Okay.
Oh, that'd be great.
I'll have better camera then.
Hey, you got to figure it out. You're full.
Yeah, he did.
Actually, it worked out perfectly for the intro that it looked like you in a galaxy far, far away.
And then I came over.
Yeah.
he was trying to figure out how to do the Star Wars scroll, at the beginning, where all the words scroll a long time ago. Anyway, everyone, have your best day ever, everyone. Bye-bye now.
Enjoy, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.